submarine fans. It's Eric with the subvet.com coming to you from Bottom Gun Coffee Company Studios in Aurora, Colorado. Hey, it's another great episode of 15 Minutes of Submarine Life. And today we have a special guest, the CEO and president of Bottom Gun Coffee Company, submarine veteran Bill Moser. How you doing, Bill?
Very good, Eric. How are you today?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. So, Bill is the CEO of Bottom Gun Coffee Company, but today we're doing his 15 minutes. And we're going to talk about his submarine career. So, Bill, tell me where you started off. Did you have any idea when you were growing up that you were going to join the Navy, or did you have any influence as far as family members to be in the military?
No, actually, well, except for my mother's brother, my uncle. He was did a couple of years in the Navy back in I would say late 50s, and I guess back then you were able to do 2 and 3 year enlistments. I'm not quite sure, but when he got home, he was a little dissatisfied with what was going on. You know, I guess when you're in the military and you get out of the military and you see people, kind of living their lives without no discipline. He didn't like that, so he turned around, joined the Marine Corps, and spent 22 years in the Marine Corps after that. So I kind of admired that, and I kind of romanticized a little bit about being in the military and things when you have somebody that you respect.
Right.
And basically, I kind of forgot about it until I was about 17, and I was palling around with this one fellow who was always having problems at home, and he wanted to borrow my car.
Okay, yeah.
So I was like, well, no. So where are you going?
Right.
He says, well, I'm going to cut class, so you're gonna go. You're gonna have to cut class with me. I was like, at that point, I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And like, you get in the car. I said, where are we going? He went down to Navy Recruiter, and Navy Recruiter got 2 for 1 that day.
Oh, so you both went down at the same time and just talked?
Both went down the same time.
But you didn't know you were going to talk to the recruiter? You just kind of got in the car with him, like you're saying?
He told me he was going to the recruiter while I was driving him.
Yeah, that's a good story.
So, of course, I went in like an idiot.
So, those recruiters always can talk a good game. Did you have one of those? It's just, had the high persona?
We had a recruiter who was a first-class machinist mate, Michael Patrick Keene. And he referred to himself in the third person quite frequently. And he had the record for recruiting people off of Long Island, New York. I mean, he was only supposed to be there a year, and by the time I met him, he was already there 5 years. That's how many guys he had recruited into the. Was he a boat
sailor?
So he was both of them. There was an ET and a machinist mate, and. They were both boat sailors, and they just totally got you hooked.
Wow. So I just
what they did was it was pretty amazing, And then when you're a 16, 17-year-old kid, all of a sudden your eyes are like this, and they start telling you a bunch of sea stories, and we kind of got hooked. Well, see, in the beginning they start talking about the Navy SEALs, and when you're a young fellow like that, you don't know what tough is. And they start telling you all about that to get you hooked. And
what year was this, Bill?
This was 1979.
Yeah, SEALs are full swing. Yeah.
Yeah, so they were.
They were kind of an unknown group at that time. Talking to you about the SEALs. So that's before the internet and all the Navy SEAL movies. So you. Did you go in with the idea that you might try out for the Navy SEALs, or did you go in designated machinist mate, or
about 20 seconds?
20 seconds.
I actually going in the Navy was pretty much the idea. After about 10 minutes of sitting there talking with these gentlemen, we were there probably about 4 hours.
Wow.
That's just how the gift of gab they had it, and I decided. At that time, I didn't want to be on an aircraft carrier with 5,000 guys. So my friend I was with was he was afraid of submarines. He didn't think going underwater was such a good idea. So I was like, well, okay, I signed up for that, and he gave me the form to to bring home to Mom because I was still a year younger than I should have been. And I got home, and she hollered and screamed and yelled up and down. The recruiter showed up at the door. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she goes, well, when's he going to be here? I said, probably about 5 minutes. And she signed the paper. She signed it that night, and then I left July 20th of 1979, and I went to Great Lakes.
Great Lakes, yeah. That's the normal pipeline for submariners. So was it a 4-6 year commitment? Were you designated at this point?
In the beginning, it was a 6-year commitment. Got to go down to Dam Neck, Virginia, figure out if I was going to be an MT or one of the other rates they had down there. I think there was 3 of them you can go for at that time.
Yeah, the Swazi program, Missile Tech, ET,
and
FTB.
Oh my goodness, FTB. That's it. And so I chose to do that, and what happened was being young, dumb, and stupid, I wound up knocking 2 years off my enlistment because I had a hard time with the classes and everything. So I become an ST and went out to San Diego, and I stationed out in the ASW base out there. And I actually, like the good little sailor I should have been, and got myself all classed up and passed and got my orders to a boat out there once we graduated. So you converted to Sonar Tech, and they're out of San Diego and Westpacker, and that's a whole. No, actually, what happened? I did get Westpac orders, but we were allowed to trade orders.
Oh.
So I traded with a guy on the East Coast, and I got a boomer, and he got a fast attack.
So you got a boomer, okay?
Yeah.
So, well, boomers for Sonar Tech. I mean, my last guest was saying that he wanted to get the action, so he intentionally went fast attack. But, everybody chooses a different boat for different reasons. So what boat you get, and what port did you go out of?
I was on the USS Daniel Webster, 626 Gold Crew. And, it was the New London Holy Loch. The Holy Loch
Transit, yep.
Yeah, cycle. We had a few... we had a system on the boat that was kind of critical for sonar that only one other boat had. One was on the Westpac, one was on the Pacific Ocean. We were on the Atlantic Ocean. I don't even know if it's been declassified. I have no clue. But it kind of made our patrol cycles a little bit different than I think some of the standard boomers that are going out there. So there was a lot more sonar intelligence work that was going on.
Oh, so you had some special ops, and that's not uncommon. Every crew can be different. I mean, I can remember one patrol where we were designated to do something that was out of the ordinary. So I think any boat can be tasked with anything at any time. So, but that's
the funny thing was when I read Blind Man's Bluff, they were talking about a few things in there that I remember actually being, out at sea at the time, and our boat was actually mentioned in the back of that book. In the list of boats that were involved with such things, that they were doing it with that, and I never knew.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Yeah, and we call it the silent service for a reason. We still have a hard time talking about it, even though when there's books and out there saying what we did and it's declassified, it's still kind of hard to. I did this, or I was at this place, or
Sure.
It's just better. I was in the North Atlantic. That's where I was at. So did you like Holy Loch? What when you're doing refits and sometimes there's stories.
I really did. See, here's the problem. I was not even a problem, but if you paint a broad stroke of what the picture was like, you got to figure 17, 18-year-old kid from Long Island, didn't have an awful lot of experience in the world,
right.
And all of a sudden you're out there and they put money in your pocket, free time, and basically when you're 17, 18 years old, you're able to work and do your job and still go out and do stupid stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciated the I appreciated the 1 or 2 days of good weather we had over there in Holy Loch, and I just was kind of looking at, I would go on another patrol right now in a heartbeat, because now I can appreciate the time that we had with the guys and all the cool stuff that we did. Holy Loch was really kind of quaint, and I don't know how some of the other fellows remember it, But it was nice, going out and getting our fish and chips. And we had guys that would pay 20 pounds.
The best fish and chips.
Back best fish and chips.
Yeah. So that's to remember. How was your qualification process, your first patrol, and do you got any memories of that?
Well, I wanted to qualify in the first patrol, but I got about 3/4 of the way done. And I was one of those guys, I would study stuff. I would talk in my sleep and do the qual check out right in my sleep. And I actually, when I went for maneuvering for Machinery 1,
right,
fellow there, his brother was my senior chief in my division. So he was a sonar senior chief, and he was a second-class machinist mate, and the guy was real good.
Wow.
And I got there, and it was like, be prepared, we used to call him Blotto. And it was, Brian Foley, good guy. I haven't seen him in a long time, but he sat there and listened to me for about 5 minutes, and he took my qual card and he signed it. I said, what are you doing? He was like one of the toughest guys on the boat to get
a checkout.
Qual signature from, yeah. And he says, my bunk is 3 bunks down from yours, but I listened to you for the past 3 nights. He goes, you know the equipment.
You're talking in your sleep.
The whole thing.
You're studying.
Talked in my sleep. Yeah, because I wanted to be prepared, and I guess in a way he kind of intimidated me a little bit, but I did look up to him. So I finished, I guess, prior to halfway night on my second patrol. Got my Dolphins pinned on numerous times. And,
when they still hit you, then they definitely hit you in the early 80s, that's for sure. It definitely got tagged.
Oh, you guys didn't get them tagged on?
Yeah, I think when I got qualified in, was it 88, 89, yeah, they were still tagging them, but by 90, 91, I would think that's when they were starting. So there was a rumor somebody got their heart stopped on a boat, you getting tagged, and that was the reason they gave for it. But
that's the same thing they said back in the 80s too, but my shirt was covered with blood.
Yeah, that's when I kept that shirt for a while, the one with the blood. I had it for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yep, me too.
So so you had to go through your sonar quals, obviously, through the different you got, broadband, narrowband, and then might be another one, and then you got Sonar Supervisor. Some of the
they didn't have broadband, narrowband. They had operator and supervisor back then.
Okay.
We had 2 passive. Actually, we had a couple of passive, more than 2, but the main stacks were the BQR7, BQR21, and then we had a total rate sonar, which had all the bands on it. BQQ3, which did all our tonal analysis for things. We'd look for Russian submarines, find that 50 hertz doublets type stuff, and so I guess I qualified Sonar Soup my 4th or 5th run.
Right.
They needed somebody. I got a meritorious advance in my 5th run, second class.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, did that, and I was LPO of the deck crew. Oh, I can't even remember when that was. That must have been my 3rd or 4th.
So you were picking up all the leadership quals, which was setting the tone for, a long career, obviously.
Well, that's what my chief wanted.
Uh-huh.
But, I, being young and not appreciative of the opportunity that was set before me, I did what was expected of me and more. But I had a lot of growing up to do, and I think that was one good thing about the service. It got me growing up enough where I could, especially the submarine service, so I can get out in the real world, and pick yourself up and go do what you got to do.
Right.
And I believe that if I didn't rush things a little bit, I probably would have made a career out of it, without a question of
right.
doubt. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to start the coffee company, was so that I could, give back a little bit, but also, perpetuate what's going on with the younger fellows that are getting into it as well. To say that it is a great opportunity for someone. So there's an awful lot to learn, and I think the pride value should not ever be understated, because it's not not something that you want to take lightly.
Right.
You can't. You know as well as I do. Your below decks watch, Sonar Supervisor, your nuclear weapons security, whatever it is. The gravity of it all is very gratifying.
It's very immense for somebody that's 20 years old. I guess it would be 19, 20 by the time you got your dolphins, and you're starting to realize all the different things that are around you that you're being put in charge of, responsible for. I mean, here you're probably 20 in charge of the deck game, right? 2021. I mean, that's
probably a little younger than that, I think.
Yeah, LPO, and that's just crazy. I mean, if you try to think about or what in the civilian world would cross that, and you can't really cross that over. But you don't think about that when you're in the Navy and you're homesick, you're young, you want to go home, even though the immense career that was being put in front of you. It happens. Sure. It happens a lot.
Yeah. But, well, really, when you think about it, when we used to have the Nuclear Regulatory Commission come down and do the inspection, of all the nuclear spaces, and I believe we had some back then. The commission that would come down, it's a multinational commission. I don't quite remember.
This was for the reactor, like ORS or nuclear weapon.
Yeah, they would come in and they would. It's all for propulsion, I guess, the whole nuclear deal, and. One of the big things that they had, they were very surprised of was the age of all the people sitting in the, in the control room for the reactor and all that. They were they were looking at us like well, not myself, but all the nukies.
The operators back at aft.
Yeah, and it was quite sobering when the captain turned around and it was some fellow from the Air Force, I think. Laid them right out. Say, hey, look, this is the way it is. They passed everything. They're qualified and what they need to qualify for. And I think it was the first guys. I think it was probably his first inspection of a boat with all these young fellas on there.
Yeah, I've heard other stories similar to that. When they come down. Heard stories similar to that with the nuclear weapons check. Air Force guys come down and they're just surprised because officers usually have all those positions.
That's right.
Yeah, where they're enlisted. They do different skill sets in the Air Force. So that's. So you did your 6 years, and then all of it out of Holy Loch, New London. Did you go anywhere else?
Yeah, 4 years, two years inactive, because I went from being into a sonar field. They didn't guarantee they didn't want you doing that 6 years, active. So things were a little bit different because basically I didn't do so well in over there in Dam Neck, so that's why I switched over to SDS. That was what I was saying.
So I'm mistaken. Was that a 4-year billet then when you went sonar?
Yeah, 4-year billet for SDS.
Oh, okay.
My contract changed. So
you didn't have to commit the extra 2 years like the SWASI program as you do then? Okay.
No, they didn't call the SWASI program back then. Even the reenlistment bonuses were a lot less as time went on. But
it seems like they change things every 5 years of how they do business. So
right. Well, I excelled in being an ST, and I really kind of missed the opportunity to get on like a Seawolf class if I had stayed in, because there are a number of fellows I'm still in touch with. One actually joined the Army, wound up becoming an officer in the Army. Another fellow, he was a missile tech. He was second class. I think it was a third class when I met him. By the time I got off the boat, he was a first class, and he wound up being the supply officer on the first Seawolf class.
Wow.
And he just retired about a year or so ago.
Right.
Real sharp guy, nice guy. I've touched base with some folks over the years and how they furthered their career. Some got out, some furthered their career. And I just growing up in the Navy, is a good experience, especially in the submarine force. And that's one of my my regrets. I wish I could have just stuck it out just a little bit longer, because there were a lot of good changes that went on.
And
Really
you
a lot of
say
good changes.
you stay in touch with some shipmates now, and that bond that you build on the boat, it's a special bond. I mean, it's a brotherhood that lasts for life. It seems like. So.
Well, one fella, I was in boot camp at the same time as him. I didn't know him in boot camp, but we wound up in submarine school together.
Right.
And graduated submarine school, and we went down to Dam Neck, Virginia, and I had become pretty good friends with him there. And that's when I wound up, going from, A school in Dam Neck and going to A school over in San Diego for an ST, and I kind of lost track of him. Well, I got stationed to the Webster, and I was up on the tender doing an off crew turnaround, going up for a meal, and I look over in the chow line and I see this guy standing there, and he was covered. He was in the missile shop, and I recognized him, and I went over. I said, "Dave, is that you?" He said, "Bill, oh my gosh, this, that, and the other thing." And
yeah.
I told him, I said, "Dude," I said, "look at me and look at you." I said, "I'm on a boat." I said, "Look, and man, what did they do to you?" And well, it's hard work down there and this, that. And I said, "I tell you what," I said, "why don't you transfer to my boat?" Well, I went out on one patrol, come back. He had already transferred to the Webster for my second patrol.
Oh, okay.
And he stayed on there. Yeah, he stayed on there for the rest of his enlistment. We stayed in touch. We stayed in contact over the years. I actually was in his wedding party when he got married. And we've been friends ever since. As a matter of fact, I just spoke to him last week. And he's moving back out to Kentucky. He was on the East Coast for a while, working for his son for a roofing company, and now he's going to be working for Amazon. Another fellow was in my division, Rick Parker. I'm still in touch with him. I stay in touch with him on LinkedIn. I don't do an awful big Facebook presence.
Right.
But he's been around all these years. There was quartermaster I'd known, and a few other guys, and you're surprised too. You get on this Facebook, like Ed Simpson. He was a supply officer. I picked him up on Facebook years ago, and a couple other fellows out of my division. One fellow was he was an E3 when he showed up, and now he's this big safety officer for a big corporation.
Right.
And it's nice to see how everyone kind of blossomed. Either they stayed in or they got out and they did well for themselves.
And everybody's life path seems different. I mean, it just appears in different ways. Just like you said, people can be vice presidents in companies, or they've started their own company, which is similar to what you have done. Can you tell us? Tell us what everybody's waiting to hear. What got you into coffee?
Well, a long time ago, my grandparents had to leave Germany for a specific reason. I think they call it World War II.
Yep.
They got out of there by the skin of their teeth back in 1935.
Wow.
My grandfather had been coming back and forth since the 20s, so he already had a sponsor. And my grandmother was pregnant with my dad, and they made it over here. And there's a long story with that. There's a lot of intrigue. My son had been finding out. It seems like my grandfather ran away with his employer's daughter, who was married to someone else who was pregnant with my father.
A little bit of drama.
This is what my son has put together over the years. DNA testing and things like that.
Your lineage,
anyway, yeah. So they made it here. She wound up passing away, giving birth to my dad. Grandfather was an only parent. Met his high school sweetheart who had made it over here, who was working for people that were actually on the Hindenburg until it burnt to the ground. She was a maid.
Wow.
And said they I don't know how they hooked up, maybe through, the small German community in New York. And they were foodies. He wound up working as a chef.
Right.
He worked at a watchmaker shop in Germany, which is funny because my son's a watchmaker. So skipped a generation or two. Anyway, they were foodies, and it just got to the point where by the time we were born, we went to Grandma and Grandpa's house, and she'd make this coffee, and I was too young to drink it, and it would always drive me nuts because it was always the German apple cake and the coffee, Well, finally, one Sunday, my father said, "Let him have coffee, damn it." So I had a cup of coffee. I had a cup of Grandma's coffee, and I've never had coffee like that before in my life, and I haven't really, I've been looking for it. So I would go out all these years and adequate coffee, how to make coffee, what's the best pot to use? Do you use a Farber or a percolate pot? Do you like the drip pots? Those come out when I was a kid. So I was always looking for the best cup of coffee. And it always seemed like, when you went to these really nice restaurants, they had good coffee, but they never tell you whose it was.
Right.
So as time went on, I started searching, and I was never really satisfied. Until I hooked up with a roaster and through my son and some people, and we wound up getting a proprietary blend. And for about a year, my son was like, you want to sell this? I said, oh, yeah, sure. You can work towards your retirement. You can do this, that, and blah, blah, blah. So push comes to shove. Without him telling me about it, he wound up writing the code for this website and came out here for a visit. He was on his way back from Seattle last July. And he says, "Do you want to do this company or not?" I said, "Yeah, that sounds good." So he threw the website up in 4 days.
Wow.
And yeah, and this whole coffee saga has been it's quite a run so far. A lot of folks are telling me they can't go back to drinking Folgers or this, that.
Yeah, it's a unique taste. It's definitely it just explodes in flavor when you try it.
Yeah, it's got a nice flavor, and it's something I've been a coffee nut for many years. I drink about 8 cups before I go to work every day.
Right. Well, what about the coffee on the boat? That old World War II coffee. You drink a lot of coffee on a boat too, or?
Yeah, I did. I drank a lot of that. What do you want to call it?
It came in the big
acid
cans. It wasn't that great. We usually brought Folgers with us when we went. We would put some money together.
You were fortunate that you were able to do that because we get those number 10 cans, and you got a fresh pot. It was good.
Coffee's a big part of the Navy life. It always has been. And then you add in your family story with it. That's a good story. I mean, so it's kind of like Grandma's recipe that's gotten into the flavors that you've introduced into your company, which are.
Well, that was the flavor I was looking for.
Right.
And and I found it. And it's been kind of like a dream come true because it's really nice being able to finish a nice meal, have a nice cup of coffee, having other people comment on. I have a woman that I sell coffee to now, and she goes, she was a coffee nut.
Right.
Drinking, coffee all the time, and she had to stop because she kept getting headaches. Because of what they put in your coffee. You have a delicious flavor, but there's preservatives and things like that. Well, long story short, she stopped drinking coffee. Her and her husband had dropped in on us over the summertime, and I gave her a card, and she goes, "I want to try it." Well, P.S. She tries the coffee, she buys it, and she doesn't get any headaches. So she turns around, she buys 5 pounds, and then she was like, "You know what? I want to buy 5 pounds every month for the next half a year." So, and she's a tough customer. She's a business owner on her own, and, they're not easy. I don't want to say not easy to please, but, they have discerning taste, and they're not frivolous. So
right.
for her to go that, to go that far as to, she just really, really likes it,
Yeah, it's just great coffee. It really is. So if you haven't tried that, listen to this podcast, you haven't tried that coffee, we recommend you go to Bottom Gun Coffee Company right now. You go to the website, and then we're offering a special discount right now. Matter of fact, of sub 1, if you put in sub 1 at checkout, they get you 20% off of the products on Bottom Gun Coffee Company, which is a great deal. And then you hear Bill say, and I've tasted it too, and it is fantastic coffee. There's just something about when you taste it, you cannot place it with any other coffee when you try to think. It's the coffee stands on its own. It's great stuff. So Bill's in Ansley, Nebraska there. He's kind of like me, ended up in the middle of the country after a Navy career. So it's a great town. It's great folks there, in those small midtown Nebraska. Is there anything you can tell us about Ansley?
Town of 400 people.
It's a small town, huh?
And small town, small town values, very sports orientated. Ansley's been around since late 1800s, and there's a lot of history here, especially in the surrounding rural communities. There's towns of 300 people, 128 people, 600 people.
And these are all farming towns, pretty much, right?
Mostly farming towns, farming, ranching. Then and then Burlington Northern Railroad comes through here, and a lot of corn, a lot of cattle. And now, because we're pretty close to Kearney, which is the largest city, there's a lot more metropolitan things going on there. But boy, you're out in the country, and you drop what you're doing and go fishing.
Right.
In a few
Just
minutes,
got that, man.
Leaving work.
So it's
if you.
Yeah, no, I was saying it's just a great story, and we're coming to the end of our 30 minutes for 15 minutes of Submarine Life, but I appreciate the story. I just want people to realize not only the great coffee, but where the coffee company is. It's in a great place with great values, great people helping you out and get the product out. So it's just a great story all the way around. So yeah, Bill, I appreciate you telling us your submarine story today. You being a sonar tech on the Daniel Webster, one of the great line of missile boats called the 41 for Freedom. Hey, and I'd like to thank you for listening to this podcast, 15 Minutes of Submarine Life. If you'd like to be on the next show, please email me at eric@thesubvet.com. Once again, it's eric@thesubvet.com. And you too can be our next submarine veteran guest on the Subvet.
This podcast was brought to you by Bottom Going Coffee Company, the taste that's qualified.